Disney claims it all started with a mouse, but that is factually incorrect because, as we all know, it all started with a rabbit. That was a prototype Mickey Mouse, right? Well, you'd also be wrong because there's an even older version of this character. And that character is none other than Julius the Cat. So let's go over his very, very brief history. In 1919, the character Felix the Cat debuted in Feline Follies. It's an okay cartoon, but it would start with the first ever cartoon star, which would be Felix the Cat. And Disney gets ripped him off, basically, with Julius the Cat, who is incredibly similar to Felix the Cat. It is still a minor debate in the animation community whether or not Disney fully ripped off Felix the Cat, as his Julius the Cat is very similar to Oswald, and he was very similar to Mickey Mouse in personality. So, it's up in the air really, but that's up to you to decide. The character of Julius debuted very early in Disney's career, appearing in his second year working in animation, in the short Little Red Riding Hood from 1922. Though all he does in this short is shoot holes through donuts, and then eats a donut and dies. It's very bizarre, but a lot of these early Laugh-O-Gram cartoons are bizarre. Go watch my video as I'm doing a whole series on every Disney animated cartoon, which I'm almost done in the 1920s, so stay tuned for more for that. The character would appear in pretty much 8 of the 10 Laugh-O-Gram shorts, including Jack the Killer, and so on and so forth. In the character's earliest appearances, he's very similar to the Felix the Cat. In fact, it's pretty much identical. I mean, look at these two characters. They are mostly identical, except for the fact that Felix has a little bit better design. He's got more of a body shape to him, and of course he's got a little bit more of a head, unique spike shape. I don't know how you describe that. It flows a bit better. Julius the Cat just looks like he's the ripoff, which pretty much he is. And while early on he did have more defining features, like being a tuxedo cat with a white belly and white hands and white feet, they got rid of that to match Felix the Cat more, which, wasn't the best decision for a character. They were trying to go for a look, let's be honest. In 1923, Julius would join the cast of the Alice Comedies, which started in 1923, obviously. Well, kind of a vague version of him, as you see there's multiple versions of him in this classic cartoon. The Alice Comedy series, of course, is a live-action hybrid of animation, which was very unique at the time. It wasn't the first, but it was consistently doing it, though they would grow tired of it over a while. This cartoon is more notable for having the first mouse character in a Disney cartoon, which you'll see a lot more of. In fact, you'll see one in the background kind of evolve over time. This cartoon is the only appearance where it seems like Julius is actually wearing pants. Now, I swear he wore them more than once, but I can't find really much evidence of him wearing pants. His future contemporaries, Oswald and Mickey, of course, would be known for wearing short pants. The early Alice Comedies focused more on hybrid animation, especially in 1924, when they had Virginia Davis as the star. However, this would quickly change to focus more on the animation side, and one of the main characters they would focus on would be Julius the Cat, who pretty much become the main star, despite the fact they're called Alice. Everyone's called Alice, but it's all Julius. In the cartoon Alice the Peacemaker, Julius was called, Mike for some reason. A little later on his name would change. This short's also notable for having Julius have a running trend where he fights mice a lot, which of course would be ironic as a mouse character would end up being his final replacement, or final form if you will. In 1925, the character began his official name in Alice's Eggplant, that being Julius the Cat. Also of note is the fact he appears in the title card, and that is where his pants come from. I knew I wasn't making that up. There it is, he's wearing the pants. 1925 was a breakout year for him. Not only did he face off against his first villain, which would be the first recurring Disney character to this day, being Pete. Yes, Julius was the first to come across Pete. Then Oswald, then Mickey. They all have the same villain, isn't that strange? So yeah, this guy right here, he's the oldest recurring Disney character that's still in use. Isn't that crazy? Unless you count Alice, but this is a different character than the Alice in Wonderland character. Anyway, one of the more notable things about Julius the Cat is his tail. He seems to be using it a lot for a lot of different gadgets, like springs, and be able to take it off himself. He can use it as a bat sometimes. One of the main reasons why this character actually became as more prominent as he is was actually because of Charles Mintz, who's a very infamous person in the Disney history. But he suggested that there should be a character that has most of the gags, since live-action characters can't really interact that much with animation, at least during this time period, which was actually a great idea. In fact, the animators agreed as they focused way more on this character as time went on, which I said like 5 times already in this video. The character became a lot more developed later on. That's thanks to a great animator, Iwerks, who's a very great person. I recommend looking him up because he's a great animator. But he developed the personality that would eventually go on to being in Oswald and Mickey Mouse. Kind of a scrappy underdog hero who kind of takes advantage of our people in a way, but he's always there to save the day if need be. He's kind of a charming 1920s hero character that you see a lot in animation, but Iwerks' animation style and characterization works very well for this character. So yeah, he's kind of an anti-hero. He kind of does things for himself, but he does do the right thing from time to time, and he has a pretty interesting tail that can come an umbrella and bat and all sorts of things. That's pretty neat. but also the tail aspect isn't that original either. As guess what, our character, he also uses their tail to do strange things. Felix the Cat. Yeah, that's right, from the very beginning, his tail had its own mind of its own. In case you're wondering why is Julius so similar to Felix, to the fact it's pretty much copyright infringement, or it would be if it was in fact they're in public domain, it's because of this one right here, Margaret something Fletcher. I forgot the name, alright? Anyway, she used to distribute, guess what? Felix the Cat cartoons from Sullivan's studio. And they had a falling out, and she wanted to do the exact same thing. And she found Disney, and she's like, do this cat character. And he reluctantly agreed, which is probably why once she was out of the picture, Julius the Cat kind of went away. And they replaced him with a better character. Some of Julius the Cat's relationships that are pretty interesting is the fact he has an adopted son named Oscar, who only appears in one short. But yeah, he's an adopted father, which is much more you can say than Mickey and Oswald, who don't have any kids of their own. Look at this guy, he's a working father, and he disciplines his kid. So maybe he's not a good father, but whatever. He at least he has a kid, alright? He adopted this kid from an orphanage. Well, not really an orphanage, he was in a box, but whatever. His closest friend is obviously Alice, who especially interacted a lot more back in the day, and they even had a kind of relationship, but it was kind of ditched later on. The only short that really goes into detail is the Three Bears one, where they actually kiss, which is kind of weird because I don't know what the age difference between these characters are, but that's bizarre. In 1926, he was given an official love interest in an unnamed cat girlfriend, who is the first prototype of Minnie Mouse. However, she's very similar to the Oswald girlfriend, Hortensia, who's also a female cat. This character doesn't appear much, mostly because the cartoons that she did appear were lost, as a lot of the 1927 ones, which she mostly appeared in, are gone. But some of them, she was his wife at some point, which is pretty interesting to see. He has a wife and kids. Beat that, Mickey. You don't have any wife, you just have a girlfriend. Though Julius' first love is just a random dog, who is of some unknown gender, actually. So maybe he's bisexual, who knows. But yeah, he loves a dog at first, which is kind of crazy, but okay, I mean, I'm not going to judge. Unfortunately, part of Julius' history is lost, as not a lot of the 1927 shorts are lost films that would have showcased the finality of him kind of losing relevance as they focus more on these side characters who would eventually evolve into later other Disney characters. Especially in this short Alice the Whaler, which is his last physical appearance, as the next last official one is Lost Media. This one features a mouse wearing pants carving a potato while on a boat. Sounds very familiar to Steamboat Willie, doesn't it? And the only thing Julius does here is look out his telescope and sees a whale. And that's it. Well, he might have done more, but the short is actually partially lost, as only half of this short remains. In 1927, Universal started distributing Disney cartoons through Charles Mintz, who did the other ones. He got this deal, and he wanted something new. The Alice Comedy series pretty much ended, and pretty much everyone involved decided that they wanted a brand new character that wasn't tied into a live-action hybrid, including Bob Iwerks, who was the main animator, who came up with most of the idea for Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. His original concepts were a little rough around the edges. In fact, the original cartoon, Poor Papa, was very negatively received until the final first appearance, Trolley Troubles, was actually a pretty big hit, and ended up making Oswald a very popular character for his short amount of time, since he was immediately replaced by Mickey Mouse like a year later. But that's due to some studio interference that most people know. We'll get to that if I do an Oswald video. But essentially, Oswald became the new version of Julius the Cat. Julius the Cat was too similar to Felix the Cat. He was connected to the Alice Comedies short series, which was getting stale at that point, mixed in hybrid animation that they didn't feel like doing, and they got a new distributor. So those were the reasons why Julius the Cat never reappeared. But did he ever reappear? No, because they owned the rights to the character and they never used him again. And when Disney lost the rights to use Oswald, they came up with a new character instead of using Julius again, as they liked the idea of a mouse character. He and Ub wanted to create something that was new, and they liked working with mice in the past, so Mickey Mouse would become the final form of both Oswald and Julius the Cat, and maybe we're better off for it. And the biggest reason why Julius the Cat really hasn't reappeared is, well, because he looks like Felix the Cat in pretty much every way. Even if they both characters were in public domain, I don't think anyone really cared. Plus, Mickey and Oswald are just more unique characters. It's probably why we don't see a lot from Julius, even though he is the first. Very rarely Disney will acknowledge the existence of Julius the Cat. One of them is actually a store in California Adventures called Julius Cats and Sons. I'm not sure if the Sons is referring to the random kid characters that appear in some of the shorts, or the actual adopted son. It also says Cats, which is not his official name, but it's interesting. This storefront is nothing really else to do with Julius, just has the name, but it's pretty interesting. Though I gotta say, it is weird that it says his family owns since 1911 and not something from his actual debut, which was 1922. That's what I would have done, but oh well. And the only other really existing version of Julius is this little nice laughogram, which has him featured there along with some of the other laughogram characters, which is in one of the El Capitan theaters in Disneyland somewhere as a prop. It's neat, but it's not a whole lot. Julius has never reappeared in any Disney media ever outside those two minor Disney park appearances, which is strange. You would think that at least having Mickey would have it, even have an Alice in Wonderland reference at the very beginning of the game. But you'd think that this would be the best opportunity, especially since they brought back Oswald in this game and other obscure Disney stuff. But Julius is absent from it, which is, whatever. Like I said, there's no copyright problems with these shorts. These are in the public domain since pretty much forever. So I don't really know why they haven't really ever done anything with the character, even as a brief cameo. And that's about it for Julius the Cat. Hope you liked this video, and if you liked it, make sure you subscribe, because I got more content like this. Let me know what you guys want to see from me more next. If you like seeing my face, let me know in the comment section down below. I might go back to the avatar, I'm not too sure. But anyway, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more Disney cartoon reviews, and maybe anything more stuff, who knows. Thank you for watching.